Welcome to Shh, Tell Me Everything. Oh, hi. Welcome, everyone. I'm joined today in the studio with my good friend, Mark Appelbaum, and it is a treat to have Mark today. He is an absolute expert. He is the best networker I've ever met, but we'll get to that. We're gonna let him share some all of the things that he knows. This is not his first rodeo. Like, it is a treat to have Mark. So let me tell you a little bit about Mark. I'm actually gonna read some from his bio because I couldn't do it justice, and then we really want to learn from him and hear from him. He is also a master storyteller, so I'm very excited to hear from him. But let me tell you a little bit about Mark. So Mark is from New York, right outside Manhattan. He moved out west when he was 21 years old. 8 years later, he met his amazing wife, Tiffany, in a personal development program called Landmark. They now have 2 children, Ryan, who's 21, and their daughter, Jenna, who's 13. Professionally, Mark is in the hospice industry with Elevation Hospice, where he gets to care for individuals and their families as they go through a difficult transition in life. Mark is here today to talk about the secrets to networking, where he has been attending between 1 to 6 networking functions a week for the past 21 years. That's a lot, people. Think about that, 1 to 6 of these functions a week for 21 years. Some of Mark's accomplishments in networking is that he started 10 of the 53 BNI chapters in Utah. He has been a guest on the BNI Founders Weekly podcast 5 times. That's incredible. I mean, and I'm hoping he's gonna tell us a little bit about that too. And there are really only a handful of people around the world who have been on that podcast that many times. He's also a regular guest on the BNI San Diego podcast. Mark's passion is teaching people the effective habits of networking. And so today, we've invited Mark to tell us everything, and we're excited to learn from you. So, Mark, dive right in. We want to learn.
Thank you, Kristy. Thanks for having me today. So, question for you, Kristy. Have you ever, because I know you network quite a bit as well, have you ever attended a networking function and you met that person that walked up to you, they seemed really friendly, and then they shoved the business card into your hand?
Yes, it's one of those things that makes you not want to go to networking functions.
Well, I'll admit that was me 21, 22 years ago. I was that guy that when I went to networking functions, I was brand new in networking. I was brand new in owning a business. And I thought that's how you networked. I thought the goal was to get your name out there to as many people as possible.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Here,
Hi, Mark.
it was
Hi,
like
Mark.
I was
Yeah.
basically like a sprinkler system with business cards,
Yeah.
just passing out cards. Now, another part that was awkward at the time was when I would meet people at networking functions. And let me say, if you're somebody who does pass out your card like a sprinkler system, don't do that. That's the worst thing you do. I can guarantee
Stop right now.
that card is going in the garbage, because if they didn't ask for it, they most likely didn't want it or most likely don't need it. But the other part, 21, 22 years ago, was when I would meet people, especially in the financial world, financial advisors, CPAs, like accountants. That wasn't my world. And when I would meet them, one of the skills that I've always had that have worked in my favor was if I shake somebody's hand, I could typically always remember their name. So I remember people that I meet very well. But when I would meet somebody that I didn't really understand what they did, I didn't know how to keep a conversation going with them. So I would awkwardly go, "Hey, Kristy, let me introduce you to John over here." And it was pure out of awkwardness. I didn't know what else to say to keep the conversation going. But I learned that's what you should do. You should connect people with other people when you're at a networking event. Now, when I started this years into it, the movie Patch Adams came out with Robin Williams. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yes, I totally remember. Yep.
So for those listening today, if you've not seen that movie, that's your only homework assignment, is watch that movie. It's one of the most incredible movies you'll ever watch. It's got all the feelings,
in the end.
all the emotions in it. Now, to share some, there's a scene in the movie. So Robin Williams, who's the main actor in the movie, plays a character called Hunter Adams. And in his early adult life, he's going through depression, just a struggling, and he admits himself into a psychiatric ward. Well, one of the patients in this ward is a gentleman named Arthur Mendelsohn, who was a billionaire. And this is a true story. He was a billionaire philanthropist, and he kind of went off the deep end, delving into the human mind. And there's a few scenes where you see Arthur walking up to nurses and other patients and doctors with 4 fingers going, How many fingers do you see? How many fingers do you see? Now, it took me years to realize he wasn't asking, how many fingers am I holding up? He was asking, how many fingers do you see? And people would say four. And he'd be like, no, you're crazy. And he seemed crazy because he would make them look crazy. Well, one night, Hunter, Robert Williams, sits down next to Arthur and he goes, can you please explain this to me? And Arthur blows him off. Well, at that moment, Hunter notices that Arthur's little coffee cup has a little leak at the bottom. And there happened to be like a piece of Scotch tape on the table. So Hunter peels off the tape, patches the cup, and solves the problem from it leaking, which is where Hunter gets the nickname Patch Adams. Well, when Arthur notices that Hunter is looking outside the box to solve his problem, he goes, okay, hold up your four fingers. So Hunter holds up his four fingers. Arthur says, how many fingers do you see? Hunter says four. He goes, no, don't focus on the problem. Look past the problem. Focus on the solution. So Hunter feels a little odd about this, and he goes, and he lets his eyes go a little double vision, and he goes, eight? And Arthur says, yes, that's the perfect answer. See what no one else can see. Now, how I relate that to networking, any of you listening, if you've ever been to a networking function, you're surrounded by people. Imagine holding up your four fingers in front of your face and looking through those fingers at all the people. One of the things I learned when I first started networking was when I focus on myself and what's in it for me, I'm the problem. When I focus on everyone else and how I could bring value to them, that's the solution. You do that every day and you'll be more successful than you could ever imagine, because people want to know that you're interested in them, not just interesting yourself. So, Kristy, I'm curious, what has been your experience? Because I met you probably 7 or 8 years ago, at least.
I think so. I think it's right about 7 years ago. Mark was there the very first time I ever walked into a BNI meeting, and I'd never even been to any networking meetings before, not even not BNI, not anything, and Mark was there, and I still remember me that was my like, I tend to be well, I really feel like I'm an introvert. Like, to have to go out and talk to people sounds kind of terrible. If I know the person, they're my friend, great, but it naturally makes me nervous I think my mind does that same thing of like, "Hey, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do?" That's generally how I would feel, right? Walking into especially everywhere I didn't know people.
Well, and for those introverts out there listening to this, you have a huge advantage that you may not even realize in networking, because extroverts love talking, introverts love listening. All you have to do is ask a couple simple questions. Who are you? What do you do? What do you like about what you do? What's a good referral for you? What's a good referral source for you? Or another way of saying that, what's a golden goose for you? Because anyone in business has golden eggs and they've got golden geese. Golden eggs, like for a mortgage lender, would be somebody refinancing or buying a home. A golden goose for a mortgage lender would be somebody like a realtor or a property manager who could feed them golden eggs. So when you ask them questions like that, they get that you're really looking. You may not be able to bring value to them, but who knows, you may have a connection that could be a great connection for them. And that's all they want. They showed up to that event looking for connections. Again, you may be that connection, or you may be able to lead them to a connection. So one of the other things I learned over the years is that in networking, there are 5 main money-making habits that every networker needs to do on a regular basis. And in my opinion, there's kind of an order to them. The first one is show up. If any of you younger people, you probably wouldn't know this director, actor, Woody Allen, but one of his well-known quotes is 90% of success is simply showing up. Now in life and in business, there's showing up and then there's showing up. Because if I'm at a networking event, I'm sure there's people out there who've been to networking events and they look around the room and there's other people there that are just sitting on their phones. Now, work, your phone is your livelihood when you're in business. But when you're at a networking event, you have to really be responsible and mindful. That is a huge interference with being responsible for who's in the room and what are they saying. Because if you're on your phone, it looks like you're not paying attention to them. You may be, but if it shows up that you're not, then they're going to your credibility with them will go down very fast.
But I think also, like, when someone's on their phone, like, I'm very hesitant. I don't wanna interrupt them. What if it's something that's super important? Okay, they're handling some fire, so that to me is a big sign of, "Stay away from me." You know what I mean? Like, "Leave me alone, I've gotta handle this. Don't come up and talk to me. Don't" you know what I mean? It's right? Like, is that kind of the message that's being
Yeah,
sent?
because I mean, they showed up to this event to meet people, but now they're on their phone. So it's like, are you wanting to meet people, or is this more important than us? And again, what you're doing may be very important, but at the same time, it would be more in your favor to leave the room to handle that business than stay in a room and seem disrespectful.
That's a good kinda tool to have, like, when those things do come up, because they do, you know what I mean? How do you handle that in the best way? Probably leaving the space. Like, that's probably the best way to do it. Okay,
Now,
I'm just taking mental notes like, 'cause this is an area I totally need to work on for sure.
Now, at a BNI meeting, for those of you who don't know what BNI is, BNI stands for Business Network International. It is the largest network referral organization in the world. It's not the only networking organization, but it's the most successful and has been around for 40 years. There's over 11,000 chapters with over 300,000 members. Just here in Utah, there's about 100 chapters between Logan and St. George. And together, there's probably about 2,200 members just here in Utah. But the philosophy of BNI is givers gain. So if you have questions about BNI, you're welcome to reach out to me or Kristy. But there's other networking organizations out there. But I know personally as a member of BNI, I've been a member for almost 20 years. And as a member, the only time I'm texting in a meeting is to see if I could introduce somebody I know to somebody in the meeting.
Mhm,
But no one would know that.
mhm.
They just see me on my phone. So I still have to be responsible for that. But so that step one is show up. Step two is learn how to show up. Learn about networking. There's tons of books. I mean, just the founder of BNI, Ivan Meisner, has written 28 or 29 New York Times best-selling books, and they're not BNI related. Most of them aren't BNI related. They're just about networking. One I would highly recommend is called The 29% Solution. The reason why it's called the 29% Solution is that we've all heard the terms 6 degrees of separation, that we're all connected by 6 degrees in the world. Well, years and years ago, there was a group in California that did a study to find out if a group of people, I think there was like 100 people on the West Coast, to see if they were connected to a certain individual on the East Coast. And only 29% of those people were actually connected to that individual. So they found that only 29, it's so the 6 degrees of separation isn't always true. Highly connected people are, it is true with those. But the reason why I'm recommending this book is that the book gives 52 action steps on how to improve your networking skills. So each week you can pick one and just keep improving your skills week after week after week. So again, and if you're a member of BNI comes, your membership comes with a educational portal called BNI Business Builder, which has 850 podcasts and other webinars, most having to do with BNI, but some have to do with management, life, wellness, leadership, organization, wellness. So the more you, we've all heard the phrase, the more you learn, the more you earn. So
Yeah.
why, if you want to improve your networking skills, learn how to network more effectively.
Well, because I think most of us kind of have that cop out of saying, "Oh, I'm just not good at it, and I'm an introvert, and I don't like to talk to people." Well, maybe everybody's like that, but we're gonna learn how to do it, you know? Like, I feel like maybe that's most people's default is, "I'm probably not very good at this by default," but it's a skill, and thinking it like, think of this as a skill, as a muscle, as something that can be trained and learned, not just you're naturally charismatic or you don't wanna talk to people, which is sometimes how I frame it, in my brain.
And I don't know if this helps the introverts out there, but the actual founder of BNI, Ivan Meisner, excuse me, is what is called a situational extrovert. So when he goes to networking to BNI meetings all over the world, he actually sets up before he gets to this event somebody who's going to introduce him around the room because it's not his normal tendency to just walk up to people and talk to them. So if the founder of the largest networking organization in the world is uncomfortable with doing it, give yourself permission to be uncomfortable yourself, but do it anyway.
Well, that's a great example. Not only uncomfortable, but then building a system to make him successful. He knows that he's gonna need the buddy to go and help him, and that's gonna make him a successful networker, so he's building that into it. He's not just accepting that I'm uncomfortable. It's like, "No, I'm gonna actually make a plan, knowing what my, you know, lackings are or my natural tendencies are to plan to be more successful."
Exactly. Now, so step 1 is show up, step 2 is learn how to show up, step 3 is spend time with the people in your network learning about them, not selling them on what you do. That will backfire in a heartbeat. Spend time learning about them and how you could bring value to them. The more you do that, the more it'll come back to you anyway. But Kristy, would you agree that any owner of a company, if they hire 20 people to work for them, to do sales for them, do you think those 20 people will want to work for that owner if that owner spends time learning about them?
Oh, I think it makes all the difference in the world, right?
I mean, it strengthens the culture that much more by going, man, my boss is interested in me, in my life, what my goals are, what I'm trying to accomplish in life. Because if I'm just here to make him or her more money, that's not going to always turn out the way it may turn out to the owner's best interest, but it's not going to help me as much. So in whether it's BNI or any other organization where you pay to be a member, my personal outlook is that when you join, that membership actually goes to hiring 20, 30, 40 other people to work for you.
That's how I was describing, these networking groups, but B&I specifically, because we're looking to open these new locations of our business, right? And so we're gonna be in a new area. We don't have a billion clients that know us and can refer us yet. Um, and helping people see, you go to the networking things to train your salespeople. It's not even about selling to the people that are in the room. Like, I don't need to go do any of these guys' taxes. When I go into a networking event, I'm not looking for a tax client. Like, hey, you could be my tax client. No, I'm looking to connect so that they know who I am. We can work together and we can then connect our people to each other,
Yeah,
right? Like, it's a totally different outlook than I think because some people, they'll go to a networking thing and think, "Well, I got nothing," or "I even joined B and I got nothing. I went to this group, got nothing." Okay, well, like with that attitude, probably, but not just that attitude, but it's the frame of it all, right? That like you're trying to connect your people to my people. It's not even that me and you have to trade this business right now. I think about you with hospice right now. Okay, well, I don't have anybody in my life right now that needs hospice, but I start thinking my network of people and your network of people have ways that they can help each other. And so then we can work together to help these other groups connect, and then that takes some of the pressure off of me. It's not like I'm trying to sell you right now and close a deal with you right now. It's I'm gonna help our groups come together.
exactly. So the next step is meeting with your fellow networkers, learning about them. And again, if you were the owner of your company and you had 20, 30, 40 other people that are all in different businesses that you get to learn about them and how to support their life and their business, it comes back to you tenfold all the time. But when you realize that by bringing, like you were saying before, Christy, if I was trying to sell to them instead of training them, selling to them, it's one-offs. And again, people no one likes to be sold to anyway, but the goal is always to train them on exactly who you are, what you do, and being specific on the kind of clients and referrals you're looking for. One of the things what you said something earlier that triggered this memory about for the last 3 years prior to being in the hospice industry, I worked remotely with the BNI region in Tampa, Florida. And one day I was talking to one of the members who was on the leadership team, and he was sharing with me about inviting some people to his chapter. And he had talked to one guy who was a contractor, and his contractor had been in BNI years ago and wasn't interested in coming back. And his reason was, in quotes, all I got were these piddly type of referrals. Now, who's responsible for that?
Well, right, he's not training the people to give him the right things.
Yeah. If I give you a referral, Christy, just for somebody that needs financial planning, you're gonna go, "Hi, Mark. Thanks for the referral, but I do this.
Yeah.
Let me refer you to so and so who does actual financial planning." So there's probably tons of other contractors who would have loved those types of referrals. But for him to just complain about what he got instead of actually going back to those individuals who gave him what wasn't a good referral for him and re-educating them, re-educating them on what would be a good referral, that's what you're there for. And so to really be mindful of the people in your network, a lot of them don't even realize what you do, or they assume they know what you do, and they assume what a good client for you would be. Your job is to make sure that they know exactly what a good client is. Kristy, you may have heard this before, but in the one of the podcasts I did with Ivan Meisner is called "Are You Asking for Pennies?" Would you agree that many people in life, in the world of financial affirmations, when they want more money, will simply say, "I want more money"? Have you ever heard anyone just say that?
Like, they like, as, like, an affirmation, like, "I want more money?"
Yeah.
Oh, like, it's on their list, right, of things. Yeah.
Now, do me a favor and say those words. I want more money.
"I want more money."
If I had a penny in my pocket, and if I gave you that penny, would I have fulfilled on your ask?
On my ask, yes, but I would still be disappointed.
Yes. Is it what you wanted? No. Is it what you asked for? Yes. You wanted more money? I gave you more money. Years ago, there was a home inspector here in Utah, that friendliest guy in the world, nicest human being, and supposedly did amazing home inspections. But every week he would say, "I'm looking for realtors." Well, we know you're looking for realtors. That's who gives you your business. What we don't know are who the realtors that you have relationships with, but we really need to know who the realtors are that you need to build relationships with. Start asking specifically for them, and there may be somebody in the room that actually knows that individual. That will actually build your business. But just saying, because we blanket a training thinking, oh, I'm asking for realtors, therefore people in this room must know a realtor. But it seems counterintuitive to say I'm looking for Liz Sears, because that's just one realtor. Well, if Liz Sears is a real realtor here in Utah, and she's a very successful realtor, that would be a great referral for a home inspector. And so again, we think that by just saying one, like years ago, I don't hear this as often anymore, but 15, 20 years ago, I used to hear insurance agents like State Farm insurance agents and other home and auto insurance agents say, "I'm looking for people that need insurance." Most likely everyone in the room that they're asking for has insurance. So they don't need insurance. What they need is a great insurance agent, and the reason why that agent is the best agent for them to work with. So again, it's like what Kristy was saying a moment ago. It's really a mindset shift of retraining your mind of not only who you are, what you do, but really reminding yourself that when you're out networking, your job is to train people, educate people on why you do what you do and who would be the best referral for you. Now, to move on, the next step to be successful is inviting people, whether it's the BNI or anytime you go to
You're
an
so
event.
good at this.
Anytime you go to an event, if you think a friend of yours, a colleague of yours would like that event, call them up and say, "Hey, I'm going to this thing next week. I think you'd really enjoy it." Because now you're looking out for them. You're looking out for their best interest, because you don't know, and they don't know, if they show up, there could be one person that they meet that could explode their business. And because you invited them, you just made a huge difference in their life. So that invitation that you make, one of the things I learned years ago from a mentor of mine, whether it's inviting to an event or giving a referral, is the approach, if I, would you. So in the world of inviting, if I was going to an event and I thought Kristy would be a great attendee at that event, I would say, "Hey, Kristy, if I was going to an event next week that was surrounded by financial services, would you be interested in going?"
Yes. Sounds right up my alley. Yeah.
Now, if I said it, now another thing I learned is there's a huge difference between inviting somebody to a meeting and inviting somebody to an event. No one likes going to meetings. We're in meetings all day long. But if you invite them to an event, that seems special.
Okay, that I'm trying to think. That is like when my now friend Taylor Miller knocked on my office door and he invited me to BNI. He called it an event. There was a networking event that was happening, but he had to explain that because I wouldn't know what that meant. There's an event where all of these business owners are getting together on Friday. Do you wanna come join us? Like, it was and and I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I remember being like actually felt really great, like, "Oh, how nice. Thank you so much for trying to plug me in to this community of people that could help me." Like, I wasn't annoyed. I was really grateful that he extended the invitation.
And now I'm guessing your bond with Taylor got even stronger because he really, I mean,
Yeah.
B&I to some degree has really made a huge impact in your business, correct?
Oh, huge. I mean, we've done well over $1 billion in business from B&I referrals, I mean, over the past 6 years. But yeah, Taylor, like, every time I think of him, I'm like, "Man, he's the guy that got me here, that brought me in and plugged me in. He helps me get connected."
Now, I'm going to share a quick story that for those of you who feel a little hesitant about inviting people to any kind of thing with so my we have a 21-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter. So to give my wife a break, I would drive our son to Taekwondo and then take our daughter, who was again about 5 or 6 years old, to this park, and we would do this pretty much every week. And often there was other children about our daughter's age playing there. Well, this one time I take her there. There's only two girls about 13, 14 years old, and huddled in their own little conversation. No one else. So for a while, I'm entertaining her as best I can on the playground. We're walking around, having fun, but she gets bored. And she goes, "Dad, can can I go over those to those girls and ask if they play?" Now, one of the things I always taught our daughter is it's always okay to ask, because if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So I first say, "No, let's leave them alone. They're in their own conversation." And as those words came out of my mouth, I said, "Wait a minute, go ask." And they were about 20 feet away. So this little 5-year-old girl, 6-year-old girl walks over to these girls, and I'm expecting a no. To my surprise, they say yes. And they're excited about it. And then so for a while, the three of them are playing Lava Monster on the playground, chasing each other around. No one could touch the sand and all this. Well, that was the first miracle, was them saying yes. The second miracle was as time went by, other children started showing up and they asked, "Can I join you?" And they all said yes. And after about 45 minutes, there was probably another 6 or 8 other kids playing Lava Monster that never would have happened if my daughter didn't go and ask that question. And so the point of that in regards to networking and really in regards to inviting somebody is just ask people. One of the things I've invited hundreds and hundreds of people to B&I because I have no attachment on them saying yes or no. I have no attachment of them joining B&I. I just want them to experience it. We jokingly say it's like getting a haircut over the phone, which if you're watching this, I'm bald, so I don't have any problem getting a haircut over the phone, but you gotta be there to experience it. And so many people go, "Well, I've invited 3 people said no, so therefore I'm bad at inviting." No, it just means 3 people said no. The 4th person could have been yes, and that 4th person may have become a member of your group and transformed yours or somebody else's business or vice versa. So just ask. Ask people. Ask people if they are interested in a referral, somebody else in your network that they could use. And that's where the "if I would you" also works. If I had somebody that was looking for an accountant, I could say, "Hey, friend, if I had the best accountant in Utah, that would you be interested in talking to her?" Or if I had somebody that could really help you with your financial situation, would you be interested in talking to them? Most likely they're going to say yes. Then it's up to the two of you to work that out. So again, those are the 5 activities. Show up, learn how to show up, meet with your network, learn about them, invite people to other events, and give referrals as best you can. And the more you do that, the more successful you'll
Those
be.
are I mean, simple pressure off and make it now where I'm walking into the room and I'm gonna be helpful, and I'm looking for ways to be helpful, and you do this so well. And if you're helpful to people, your network will grow. I had a networking opportunity a couple weeks ago, a person I didn't know, but was the sister of somebody know wanted to go to lunch, and so they connected us next, and I said yes. I thought we'd all be there, but no, I got there, it was just me and the person I didn't know. I thought it was gonna be the 3 of us, but this person was actually lovely, absolutely. And we talked about her my business and how we connect, and our clients aren't the right clientele overlap, right? Like, not a lot right now anyway. But on my way out, I thought, "Hey, I'm attending this Utah 100 event in October, the top 100 fastest growing companies in Utah. Wouldn't that be good for the people that she's looking for?" And so being able to say, "Charity, I'm going to this. Do you wanna go?" So even though, like, our my people wouldn't be there, I could invite her to something that I'm going to go to, and her people might be there. So that was the first time I really had done that. I didn't really know her, but it was a great way for us to connect and for me to be helpful to her, even though I'm not her ideal client, even my clients aren't her ideal clients, but I might be going somewhere that can better plug her in to people who do have her ideal client.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you just invited her to an event that would surround her with golden geese.
And it's always nice to be the one inviting. You're right, like, I it's nice to invite someone to something. I feel like it feels great, feel great. Mark, this is and honestly, Mark knows so much. I've had the privilege of listening to him train on marketing many times, at different groups, and he was a master, and there's much more that could be said, but what we wanna do, Mark, is give you the next minute or 2, really just turn the mic over to you, whatever you wanna say. So if you wanna share your contact info, share about your current project.
Thank you, Chrissy. So, if you'd like to reach out to me, the best way is I know social media is huge, and that's what most people would plug, but my cell phone. That's it. It's I'm kind of old-fashioned. My number is 801-390-7015. As far as what I do for a living, again, I'm with Elevation Hospice, Primary Care, and Palliative Care. So if you have a family member or friend that whether they need hospice or not, if they're declining in any way and there's a need for some kind of additional care that they could use, I'd love you to reach out to me and see if what our services offer could be a fit for them. If and that's it. That's my time. Thanks so much
Mark,
for having
thanks
me,
for being
Christy.
here, appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to an episode of Shh, Tell Me Everything. This podcast is proudly hosted by PackTax and produced by Techne Innovations. We drop new episodes 4 times a month, so be sure to subscribe and never miss out. See you next time, and keep those secrets coming.